the way that the left gets attacked often is that you're asking for too much, is too pie in the sky, and your ideology, I think, on some subconscious level, makes people feel bad. We make people feel bad because it's like, well, I agree with we all want a better world, right? But it seems the difference between the left and the center left is that we think that world is possible, and for some reason they've dug in their heels in believing that it's not. And our existence, our insistence that we could be doing better is, in some ways, I have to acknowledge, an indictment of their choices.
Yeah, well, definitely. I wrote a piece about this actually in 2015 or 2016, I think, on my personal website, where I was I kind of reached a similar conclusion as you. It was a short piece, and your point just reminded me of it, was that I was thinking more about in the pundit game, right? Is why are so many pundits so just seem like put off by Bernie, put off by people on Twitter who like Bernie, just like they seem almost like insecure about it. It seems like it really gets them. And yeah, it was a similar kind of point, right? Which was that a lot of those people came into politics 10, 15 years ago blogging, and they were like the most liberal people in the world,
Right.
the most liberal people in the game. Hey, I supported gay marriage,
Right.
Like, I'm for gay marriage. And in 2004, that was like a big deal,
Right.
And then now they find themselves outflanked, and their identity is tied up not just in their particular policy views, but also in those policy views being the best policy views, the most progressive, the most left policy views, in the game. And they feel now they're in this sort of uncomfortable situation where the tide has turned, and their policy views they're kind of defending from the left, right? Now they're the person who was like, let's don't push gay marriage that hard,
Right. Or defund the police, or whatever it is. They have to, part of the theater of making the left seem unreasonable, or impractical, comes from the fact that they're not just willing to say they don't agree. Either they don't agree, or even the argument that it's not kind of politically viable, especially in light of all of the evidence that it is politically viable, right? To your point, a lot of the brouhaha after the election was immediately undercut by the real life results of all the people in swing districts who supported Medicare for all keeping their seats, and the victories really being concentrated among people who hadn't taken an ideological stand. So even that seems just to be part of a narrative that is really getting at the truth of the matter, which is that they just don't want to do the better thing. And I'm not sure how to get around that, because there's a piece of what liberals say, which is that the left is judgy, which, if you really boil it down to this central truth, you can't avoid it, right? If it all comes down to, we think that we should do these good things and you don't, there is an inherent kind of moral judgment at the core of it. And I don't want to be judging people morally, but when I have these arguments with folks who do get to a point where it's like, don't eat meat. And I say that as a meat eater who, I get a little sensitive about it sometimes.
Yeah, do the good thing. Don't do the half good thing. Why not just do the good thing?
Yeah.
But that does irritate them, definitely. And some people can presentationally come off as holier than thou, which is probably not the best choice. I don't think Bernie ever really came off that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, some people can get going in that direction. But yeah, like you said, when the insecurity is just tied up in the fact that you want to be really progressive and really humane and all the rest of it, but you also find yourself resisting the most progressive thing, and just the dissonance of that makes you feel bad and makes you lash out or insecure or whatever. I don't know how to solve that,
Well, Matt, why are you even here? I don't even know what this conversation is. Do you think we need to define progressive? Do you think that's a battle that we should take on to police the
I don't know.
edges of
I
that
don't
term?
even use. I mean, I use the word here and there because I feel I don't know, but it wasn't progressive. I remember progressive being the thing that people said because they didn't want to call themselves liberals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Okay,
That's all it is. This is just to give people some vague intimation that they're on the left. And honestly, Bria, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think where I disagree with you is I don't view the people you're talking about as morally driven individuals.
So what are they driven by?
Their self-interest. Like every single person who works at CAP is driven by their self. They're not
I'm
trying to be a
talking
good
about CAP.
person or rational. Like, well, I mean, this doesn't just apply to CAP. I'm just
Sure.
using CAP as a starting off point. But I'm saying everyone in that Washington ecosystem, and that applies to quite a lot of people in the media who even like someone like Ezra Klein, who might not seem to be angling for a position in the Biden administration, doesn't actually really have to curry favor for, say, private health insurers specifically. Like, he's not going to get a nasty phone call from the president of Aetna if Vox runs a pro Medicare for all piece, which, they do at times, because there are, lefties who work in the media. They tend to be young. They tend to be some of the people who are driving the union pushes at places like Vice News and BuzzFeed, Vox, and like all the media operations. And I'm saying that someone like Ezra Klein, again, just using that example, has a self-interest. He's going to oppose Bolshevism because he's doing very well.
But what about not Ezra Klein, but like this woman at Cut, or like you don't have normies in your life who you've had this conversation with?
You know me, Bree.
Okay.
What
all right. Well, then let me
look at me right now. Look at me.
All right. Well, then let me confess. Maybe I'm overly preoccupied. Like I will admit to having a certain, friends from a certain social media, like friends from college, friends from law school. Maybe this isn't important, but it does pain me that we have had this rift over the course of the last 5 years or so. And that, ideologically, I don't even want to begin to start to bring things up, like, probably cut this, but like I'm on like dating apps, and it's so daunting because they're like, I'm a liberal, and they're like wearing the I'm with her shirt or the Warren shirt, and I just know there's so many conversations between here and us being together. Like, it's the gulf is too wide, and it's just not even worth it. And I
don't think you have to cut that, honestly. I see people on dating apps they still have like Pete and Warren crap in their bio. This is like one of these. This is one of like the 5 pieces of information that you are going to give a total stranger who's going to evaluate you sexually and romantically. Is I love Mayor Pete.
Or the Kamala shirts. I feel like there are a lot of like non-black guys who are wearing a Kamala shirt in solidarity, like to show that they're like open to dating women of other races. And I'm like, ooh, that is not the catnip. That is not the catnip you think it is.
That's a new angle. I think that's particular to your dating pool. Like white guys putting like being effusive about liking Kamala to show they're down.
Or Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of white guys in Black Lives Matter shirts.
Well, that's not the worst.
I'm glad
that's okay. I mean, even if that's insincere, okay, that's a step in the right direction, right?
It's twice as sincere as the businesses who use it as break-in protection. Put up Black Lives Matter sign.
Or just put up black-owned business in the window, even though it's not.
Oh, God. Is that has anybody been caught doing that?
I don't know about if anyone recently, but that was like a thing with like LA riots and stuff. So eventually people figured out like, I'll just say it's black owned, and then they'll just skip it.
I hate it.